side event with the title Substitute to Transform, Synergies between the Amazon, in the Amazon for sovereignty and food security with the substitution of imported foods with locally produced foods. Welcome. So, food systems in the Amazon face complex challenges. That's why, by mandate of our presidents, the 8 Amazonian countries presidents, we have the Belém Declaration and the Bogotá Declaration. And we are now looking forward for the implementation of this Belém Declaration, so our mandate. So in this regard, together with World Food Program, we developed a methodology to measure the economic, nutritional, and environmental impacts of substituting imported products with locally produced Amazonian foods by smallholder farmers and gardeners. So, for example, a case study showed that, for example, replacing 20% of maize flour used in emergency programs with bitter cassava flour could lead to a 50% increase in employment and a more than 12% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions. So this confirms that lines of actions that are already not only are interconnected, but are also crucial to positively transform the food systems and consequently improve the quality of life of the population while conserving the local agrobiodiversity. So in this context, I would like to start with World Food Program and request Mr. Rafael Leao to give a presentation about the methodology and the study that is done in some Amazonian cities. Rafael.
Okay. Thank you, Hatna. Can you tell me the time? When I have maybe 2 minutes.
Yes.
Just tell me. Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Hatna Otka, for organizing this event. Thank you, CGIAR, for providing the space and offering the space for this side event. My name is Rafael Leão. I'm a regional program policy officer in Panama, the regional office of WFP. And yeah, I'm glad to share with you today the results of this study. So before entering into the study itself, let me just quickly explain you. We have 13 country offices in this region. We are present in most of the 8 Amazonian countries, 7 out of 8 Amazonian countries. And we have operations, we've been having regular operations and projects in all of these countries through our country offices. So 2 years ago, 1.5 years ago, we decided to go one step further and have a regional approach to tackle and study common challenges shared by these 8 countries, by the Amazonian countries. And we developed this position paper where basically we put forward the vision we have for the Amazon people and how WFP could contribute to building this vision. And basically we have three work streams. We look at strengthening social protection systems, our help to support developing more sustainable food systems. And the third one is strengthening emergencies response, preparedness and response. And it's in the context of the second work stream that this study fits. Basically, as we know, and those that are from this region, you know it better than myself, who I'm not from this region, but basically what we see, Amazon is a region with one of the largest food biodiversities in the world, but still it is the region where we see the highest levels of food insecurity across the Amazonian cities. So this is the type of contradiction we need to face, and we need to discuss and put on the table to discuss. What we see is people more and more eating ultra processed foods and less of the traditional foods, no? And we believe that working to increase the demand and strengthen local and short value chains also help to empower communities. That's on one side. And then on the other side, the recognition that public procurement can serve as a driver to promote this change that we want to do. So this is basically the basis of this study. 2 years ago, we published an interesting study with ECLAC on the economic impacts of buying food in the country compared to international procurement. And it was very well accepted and very well received, this study at that time. So what we decided to do is, building on this study, we decided to add 2 additional layers, not only the economic, but we want to look at nutritional and environmental perspectives, okay? And we also focus in the Amazon, as you will see. From the beginning, what we wanted is to develop a tool, and that's what we achieved, a tool that is, number one, flexible and adjustable and scalable. So you'll see that it was designed, and the case studies were focused on the Amazon, but we can expand it, and it's applicable beyond, across other regions too. And also we wanted this tool to be easily scalable. That is, basically anyone can use and apply this tool. It's available without the requirement of a very strong technical background. So how this tool works, it's very simple. Basically, the first step is to choose a food, an exogenous food, so a food that is not produced in the Amazon that you want to replace, and then choose the Amazonian food that you want to replace these foods. So you need these 2 sets of foods to be replaced and to replace. And then we go and we collect data, real data in terms of production, in terms of consumption, etc., nutritional data of all these these food items, right? And then there's the premise that we always work the replacement on a basis of same calories, equivalent, energy equivalent. And then this is reflected in 44 indicators across the 3 dimensions. And this allow us to have this estimate impact of the replacement. So what you see here on the screen is basically the screenshot of the tool. It's not rocket science at all. This is an Excel file with 13 spreadsheets. So basically some of these spreadsheets, that's where we input the data we collected. And in some of these, we get the outputs and we get the estimate impacts, okay? This is, as I said, this is available, and we believe, I mean, basically anyone can use. Is very intuitive. Now I want to share 2 case studies. So 2 cases in which we applied this methodology. The first is a situation of an emergency situation in which we had to do general food distribution, basically food basket being distributed to the populations in the Colombian Amazon region. Okay, that was in 2021. And as part of this food basket, one of the items was maize flour, not produced in the Amazon, but brought from other parts of Colombia. And what we studied is what would happen if we replace this maize with chontaduro. So in Spanish, it's chontaduro. I'm sure you know. Here I learned on Sunday that it's called pupunya here in Brazil. I didn't know about it. Honestly, in English, I don't know the name, but maybe with the picture, you can those that know this fruit can tell me later. So basically, what we found, what the study tells us is that for every 100 tons of chontaduro flour that we replace in the food basket, we can generate additional $17,200 of additional income per year. That is for 14 Amazonian families producing. We generate 21 jobs in the territory, and we reduce on 6.6% the carbon footprint. Okay, that was the first case study that we did. The second one is also interesting. That is school feeding situation in Cobija. Cobija is one of the is a Bolivian city very close to the border with Brazil, with Acre. And in Cobija, the kids at school, they receive industrialized apple juice, the Tetra Packs, the boxes, no? And the municipality there, basically, this is not a foresight. It's already happening. They are replacing the apple juice with locally produced acai juice from local producers. And what we found out is that for every 100 tons of acai juice, we generate $6,300 for 14 families. We generate 41 jobs. With the same calories, as I said, we multiply the protein content by 4, and we reduce by almost 10% the carbon footprint. That is for 100 tons of acai juice. So getting to the end here, and then I think what is really important is that we hear also from the panelists the other perspectives, because here, as I mentioned, we're looking at economic, nutritional, and environmental, but it's also interesting to understand the cultural, for example, the production perspectives of this type of substitution. But we believe that by offering this tool can serve as that's my last slide. So this tool can be used by government officers, by municipalities, by basically any actor who wants to use this evidence to improve public policies and promote local procurement. As I said at the beginning, this can be used not only in the Amazon, but in other regions. I can mention the example of Bolivia. Bolivia, our colleagues saw this study, and they are bringing this tool to the Altiplano, to the Andean regions, to look at other food items, no traditional food items in this region. And the last point is that it clearly provides evidence that food procurement, so procurement, institutional procurement, can really be a driver of the changes we want to promote towards a more sustainable and inclusive food system. That's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rafael. So you have seen in the presentation the fundamentals, the applications, and usefulness in different contexts, and also the replicability of a methodological tool to measure the impacts of the substitution of imported food by local Amazonian products. And you have seen also the conclusions of its applications in 2 case studies. I would like to invite, let's start with Mrs. Kelly Guerra from UNICEF, Children and Youth Engagement and Climate Action Officer, to have a seat. I think she's busy with something. Okay, we will proceed with Maya Rajasekharan, Managing Director Americas of CIAT. Also, Mr. Carlo Korendijk van Amazon Conservation Team. And also Mr. Jose Houdinho from Ragia. Not yet. He was here around. He is on the phone. Okay. Kelly is, yes. And I have the news that Mrs. Dali is on her way from FILAC. But I think we can start. Let's start with Maya. Maya, can you tell us what are the potential implications of increasing local food consumption in Amazonian production systems, particularly regarding sustainability and biodiversity?
Okay, thank you. I think Rafael made the job very easy to answer this question, and put up all the evidence right there, some of the benefits that come from that. And there's a saying, we are what we eat. So food is culture, food is climate, and the food is health. So there's massive co-benefits can be achieved. And there are more than 300 or 400 edible species in the Amazonian region. So what we have seen is actually one or two key examples, and with evidence and data to show that if you substitute with the common cereals, the co-benefits it can generate. So starting with sustainability, there is enough evidence to show that you actually increase the sustainability on farm, and it improved water retention and circulation and carbon capture. So having more biodiversity on farm, so it's an incentive for farmers to actually, or Amazonian region to really kind of bringing that more biodiversity on farm, which will even lead to consuming those more biodiverse food. And from the perspective of, you saw that more than how many jobs have been created for the specific examples. Very often these Amazonian foods are processed and consumed by local traders and women-led enterprises. So any processing of these or increased demand for some of these crops would lead to more job opportunities for women and marginalized people, and they become from an informal actors in the market to much more of a powerful economic actors who can actually have the power and authority to really demand what they actually bring to the market. So from a social perspective, it brings enormous benefit. And from the perspective of the social justice, the same, it really brings more of the social justice element in terms of what these actors can bring to the table and bring it from a climate angle, it's very clear. Eat locally, less carbon footprint. We don't have to consume. We needed to bring food from a long distance. So there's clear benefits there. And also from a science perspective, if you look at the food composition data tables of different countries, which outline a number of crops which are edible species and what people can eat. But if you look at the procurement, you see a disconnect. Procurement is often dictated by very few crops. So there's an opportunity to actually, we can put more data into the domain, but there's also an opportunity to really procure more locally. Brazil is always shown as a very key example about how school feeding programs work, where 30% should be consumed locally. But other countries have tried to kind of emulate that Brazil model, but the data doesn't really exist to show that how much is actually locally consumed. So this is an incredible opportunity for local consumption of Amazonian foods to be consumed by other Amazonian countries. And working with WFP and others, with the CGIAR and the Alliance, we can actually bring in more data to the table to show and bring certain level public policy changes that are needed. If there are needed adjustments, we can bring more table to it. So I see massive benefits. And I think one of the implications is that we all know the quinoa story, right? Quinoa became such a demanded, marketable item, internationally. The prices have gone up. So we also need to keep a check on the sustainability and making sure that social and environmental metrics are maintained and keep check on to make sure that these incredibly local, non-timber forest product, fruits and others coming from the Amazonian region stay within the reach of the communities that actually is cultivating and taking these foods, taking care of these products. So some good example to learn from where things probably didn't go well for local communities. And but I think I see only massive, incredible benefits in terms of climate, biodiversity, and also in terms of health, and bringing more diversity, more studies to show that diversity increases our gut microbiome. So there are all kinds of benefits that bring to actually overall well-being of humans.
Thank you, Maya. I think that was clear enough. Thank you. Okay, we should follow with UNICEF, Mrs. Kelly. We would like to know, how could the access to Amazonian products improve the nutrition of children in the Amazon region? And as well, how can UNICEF support indigenous children and youth in building resilience and adaptation to climate change impacts linked to food?
Thank you so much, Rana, first for this having a space for us, and also for this important topic. First of all, from UNICEF Latin America and the Caribbean, we have a huge agenda on nutrition because we care about the children, especially if they are in the first 10,000 days of their life, when everything happens. If they receive the best nutrition, if they receive the best vitamins, most of them can change all the life in several years. So in that way, we have many projects related on that, especially with the Genius community, where I have the pleasure to also share this panel. First of all, for example, in the case of Yanomami here in Brazil, which is one of the indigenous community, also which is facing climate resilience. But in that way, we provide them some foods related to vitamins that they need, that children need. For example, I don't know how to say this in English, sorry, but it's hierro, which is for the blood, iron, because most of them are not receiving the best food. So, for example, some of, depends on the climate change. Also, sometimes they are facing, their families are facing droughts where food is not there. But also when we have floods, most of the agriculture can provide the best fruits or vegetables for them. So for us, it's really important that they can receive it on that in Yanomami. We have other projects in other countries. For example, in the case of Guatemala, we also work with them. I think our impact in the last year was more than 5,000 children. Because Guatemala also is facing other kind of problems about the political and societal problems, that also with this link with nutrition, but also the link of climate change, the impact is bigger. So we need to increase our effort in that way. But also, I would like to highlight that the best solution that we can have is to work together, to create more allies, to have more stakeholders to work, because we cannot do it alone. We know that public sector is our best ally to work on it, but we really need civil society. We need youth group. We need education sector, especially. We need hospitals, because if you don't receive the best food, the impact it will be in that day. Sometimes you can go to the school, sometimes you can go to a hospital, because you are not in the best way. So just to finalize this part, because I know that we have a lot of panelists, please work with us. Please, the door is really open for you, because the children need us, and especially, I don't know, yes, it was here. One of our last report, it's related to poverty. Almost 5.9 million of children will be in poverty only because of climate change. Additionally, for 2030, additionally of the already children who are in poverty situation. So that's a huge amount of children that we really need to care. I am just saying that because agriculture and nutrition really needs our work, but also if we don't take decisions on that, we have these results. So that's why. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kelly. So the message is clear. We need collaboration. And there is a lot of poverty for the children. A lot of children are in poverty, and they are also lacking the nutrition they should get, Thank you, Kelly. So I would like to follow on with Mr. Jose Judinho. And you understand English, right? Um pouco? Pouco. Mas você tem uma pergunta em espanhol? Se tem? Ok. What are the major barriers that prevent indigenous people from participating in policy decisions about food systems at local, regional, and national levels? Sí. Otra pregunta. How strengthening food systems that are based in indigenous people's knowledge build resilience for adaptation with regard to food access? Você tinha as perguntas, né?
Sí.
Ah, tá bom. Ah, sim.
Gracias. No sé si me vayan a entender. Agradezco la invitación a este panel de parte de los organizadores. Y para responder a la pregunta, quisiera nombrar específicamente 3 barreras que impiden la participación de pueblos indígenas mediante las políticas públicas nacionales, ¿no? La primera de ellas es que hace falta un reconocimiento de las prácticas de los pueblos indígenas y esa falta de reconocimiento sobre los sistemas alimentarios impide precisamente que se realicen políticas públicas culturalmente pertinentes. Y, por supuesto, su inclusión en las actividades, incluso comunitarias, ¿no? Por otro lado, ligado a la falta de reconocimiento normativo, nos encontramos con la pérdida de los territorios y recursos naturales. Y aquí encontramos problemáticas ligadas a la deforestación, la minería, el no reconocimiento o titulación de los territorios indígenas también ligado a la falta del reconocimiento jurídico, ¿no? Y por supuesto la expansión agrícola impiden que los pueblos indígenas sean reconocidos y que sus prácticas sean valorizadas. Por último, pero no menos importante, el impacto de la globalización y los mercados. Están llegando cada vez más a los territorios indígenas productos ultraprocesados que están cambiando los modos de alimentación de los pueblos indígenas. Y esto, por supuesto, desplaza esas prácticas tradicionales que tenemos como pueblo, pero aunado a eso también para responder la segunda pregunta, para nosotros alimentarse está ligado también al territorio. Y la Amazonía, ya lo decía el año pasado en un evento en Bogotá, nosotros utilizamos los productos por temporada. Y estos productos por temporada están ligados directamente al ecosistema amazónico, no se dan en otros sitios. Y tenemos me gustaría como comentar una bonita experiencia que tenemos a raíz de la pandemia. Los pueblos indígenas sufrimos una fuerte problemática ligada a la alimentación, donde nos llevó a realizar un proyecto muy bonito que fue financiado por un fondo de jóvenes, el Fondo Colocno, y este fondo financió con un fondo semilla nuestra iniciativa que se llamó Despensa Amazónica. La despensa amazónica trató de la transformación de los frutos precisamente de temporadas, pero comenzamos con la yuca, en donde 2 jóvenes se ingeniaron hacer chicha de yuca, que es como la base de nosotros en la Amazonía. Y de allí dijimos, bueno, si esto se puede hacer con la yuca, ¿por qué no hacerlo con otros productos? Y fue así que nació esta iniciativa. Hoy día tenemos un stand móvil que vende productos transformados, pero productos sanos que no tienen nada que ver con químico. Y está ligado precisamente también al fortalecimiento cultural, porque estamos aprendiendo de los abuelos y las abuelas de la importancia de nuestro alimento. Entonces, allí para nosotros es más que alimentarse, es un acto también de resistencia. Gracias.
Thank you, Jose. Rafael, can you give a summary, maybe in English, 1 minute, what Jose said? Because I don't get it also 100%.
But, okay, what a challenge. Let me see. We heard the barriers, and he mentioned the lack of recognition of traditional practices as one barrier. The other one is the expansion of agricultural industrialized or capitalized agricultural systems and mining and other economic activities that put pressure on indigenous territories, and also the changes in food systems, the globalization that brings or increases the consumption of ultra processed food. And then at the end, he gave us this interesting example of an initiative to industrialize and to explore ways of adding value to traditional food items.
Okay, thank you, Jose. Okay, we would like go further with Mr. Carlo Corendijk from Amazon Conservation Team Guyanas. And we know that in some indigenous communities, it's already implementing food transforming systems in the south of Suriname. So we would like to hear about what specific experiences does ACT have with indigenous communities regarding methods to transform food systems, and what challenges has ACT faced in implementing community-led conservation and sustainable agroforestry systems, and how is this being addressed?
First of all, buenas tardes, bon tarde, good afternoon, all. That's the only thing I know up till now. But maybe after a few cups, I will improve my Spanish and Portuguese. Yes, my name is Carlo Corendijk. I'm country manager of ACT of the Surinamese program. And ACT is let's say, an environmental organization that works in partnership with communities, and more with the tribal and the indigenous communities that lives in the forest. And we having a lot of projects ongoing. Our approach is more holistic. So in that case, we don't look only at food, we look at different type of pillars. But for now, to be specific on this topic, we'll focus then on our food program that we had established. So yes, there's a Dutch saying, if I translate it literally, you are what you eat. So food is not only food that we eat. It is the previous panelists also mentioned it. The presentation we also mentioned it, that it's part of culture. It's culture. It's your history. It's your identity. It tells you where you are coming from. It tells you also about your daily life, and especially for community that lives in the interior, that lives in the Amazon. So I'm not here talking on behalf of the indigenous people and the tribal people. I'm talking here on behalf like a friend, a partner, someone that also learns from them to help and support this community, also as an NGO. So I will then give you and bring you to Suriname, to Guyanas, to explain how the community is living. The daily life is just going to your agriculture plots. There's a system they call shifting cultivation. So they harvest they do their agricultural practices in each plot, and after a year or 2 years, they cut up another part of the forest, and so they keep on with that system. Other thing is they go hunting, they go fishing, and plant their cassava, their macasera. So that's part of their daily life, what they are used to. And now we have then the challenge. So with climate change, we have then long rains, a lot of rainy seasons. You cannot predict things anymore, when to plant and what time the dry season is. Also, dry seasons sometimes are very longer each year, and sometimes of the year they are shorter. So there are like specific periods in the year that the communities go to their agriculture floods. And nowadays, with this climate change, you cannot work with that agenda anymore. and you need to adapt and look for other alternatives. And for example, we had a flooding at the agriculture plots, but nowadays, together with the farmers, that's why data is also important. We are, together with the farmers, we are collecting and mapping these agriculture plots has been flooded, and to be assured that those type of threats to avoid. So these information are is very important for us to map all of the flooding areas, because you cannot control nature. And once you have the data, you know where it floods, then you can create a strategy and see also where which of the crops had survived and which of the agriculture plots also has been on highland. So our role is also more informative, and we give them advice to also plant and do their agriculture not far from from the village, near the village. But when in that case, the result will be to have compost. Need to have compost, because naturally the soil should be very fertile, and that's another result of, let's say, if you don't do the agriculture shifting adaptation. So approach is more community led. The solution is more to in the community itself, to make them resilient, give them the information, and also partner with other organizations such as the Research Institute, other governmental agencies. This is something that we don't do on our own. We also partner with other governmental agencies, with other organizations that has the technical experience. And yeah, the challenge that we also have is that sometimes donors, they want the results very fast. In 1 year, you want to reach X, Y, and Z. But the reality is that you need more time, and that is one of the challenges that we are facing. And to go back and give example what type of innovation methods we are, let's say, doing in the village. We have now the stingless bee project, where stingless bee is not only for honey, it's not only for their food security, it's also for pollination, to help other plants to expand further and also get a better production. Another method that we are also doing is, yeah, I said it before, to introduce fruits, plants, crops that they can plant near their houses. And this is something that we should not look at as a food problem as it is, but we need to have this holistic approach. Also, you need awareness of community, because they aren't used to these type of methods. So awareness is very important, and also strengthen the capacity, bringing science. The research that you have done is very informative and very good, but also know to make it adapted on the real situation of the community itself. And that's why when we do research, we do research for the sake of research. We do research that brings a solution to the community itself. And that's an ongoing process. We as ACT are will partner with other organizations, with other communities, and together I think we can also solve these threats and these challenges about food sovereignty, because food sovereignty is something that we already are doing, and we will preserve their cultural knowledge about the food system. And it's not only about protecting, it's also about for surviving. I hope I was clear. Yeah.
Thank you, Carlo. Very interesting to hear the experiences and the challenges and also the solutions that as it is trying to have for the communities. So we have our last panel, Mrs. Dali Angel Perez, General Coordinator of Programs and Projects from FILAC. And the questions are, what are some of the main barriers that indigenous peoples face in participating in policy decisions about food systems at all levels, and also how strengthening food systems are based in indigenous peoples' knowledge, build resilience for adaptation with regard to food access from the point of view from FILAC.
Thank you. Bueno, yo voy a hacer mi intervención en español. Bueno, el FILAC es el Fondo para el Desarrollo de los Pueblos Indígenas de América Latina y el Caribe. Somos un organismo intergubernamental paritario. ¿Qué quiere decir esto? Que estamos conformados por representación gubernamental, pero también representación indígena. A lo largo de los años, cuando hemos trabajado con pueblos indígenas, lo que tiene que ver con sistemas alimentarios, y algo que decían los hermanos aquí, es que hace falta el reconocimiento de la visión propia de los pueblos indígenas cuando hablamos de sistemas alimentarios. Desde la expertise de FILAC, eso lo vemos no solo en la región amazónica, lo vemos en la región andina, en Mesoamérica, en el Caribe. Es la misma preocupación que tienen los pueblos indígenas. Y eso pasa también en las 7 regiones socioculturales del mundo cuando intercambias con otros pueblos indígenas de otras regiones, y es la falta de reconocimiento de estos saberes propios, de esos sistemas propios que ya están en instrumentos internacionales como la Declaración de Naciones Unidas sobre los derechos de los pueblos indígenas. Y esa es una preocupación latente. ¿Qué hemos hecho desde el FILAC? Bueno, en primer lugar, se tienen que facilitar espacios de diálogo e interlocución con tomadores de decisiones. A veces nos reunimos entre los pueblos indígenas a dialogar y coincidimos en muchas problemáticas, pero ¿cuáles son las soluciones? ¿Cómo podemos nosotros como pueblos indígenas hacer que los estados cumplan con su mandato ya establecido en estos marcos internacionales? Otra segunda preocupación que también identificamos es que los tomadores de decisiones no conocen sobre estos instrumentos internacionales o no conocen esta visión propia de los pueblos indígenas, y ese es un desafío. Siempre se habla de fortalecimiento de capacidades y de formación dirigido a pueblos indígenas, pero esta formación también lo necesitan los tomadores de decisiones, también lo necesitan quienes están en los organismos internacionales especializados en estas temáticas. Se habla de un enfoque intercultural, pero ¿desde dónde viene este enfoque intercultural o quién también lo necesita? Creo que eso es algo muy importante. Otra tercera preocupación que se tiene es la falta de evidencia, la falta de datos, la falta de sistematización de estas prácticas. Obviamente sabemos que hay prácticas que no pueden ser compartidas, que son propias de los pueblos indígenas, pero hay otras iniciativas como las que decía José, ¿no? De lo que producen con la chicha, y no llegar a los pueblos indígenas con proyectos que se escriben desde otras agendas, ¿verdad? Y se les impone a los pueblos indígenas. Entonces yo creo que un mapeo de estas iniciativas existentes es muy importante. Y algo que quería compartir en la generación de evidencia es que hace un año hicimos un informe con el Programa Mundial de Alimentos, porque teníamos una preocupación ahí, cómo insertar a profesionistas jóvenes indígenas en estos espacios especializados en temas de alimentación, porque tienen que llegar a esos espacios también para hacer una transformación desde adentro. Y yo creo que ese es un compromiso que tenemos que tener los organismos internacionales, intergubernamentales, para abrir los espacios a estos profesionales indígenas y que sean también quienes nos compartan sus experiencias desde un enfoque técnico. Y algo que identificábamos en este informe es que muchas veces ponemos una serie de requisitos muy burocráticos que no permite que estos profesionales lleguen a estos organismos. Y yo creo que como FILA, como organismo intergubernamental, estamos pues aquí para hacer alianzas estratégicas con UNICEF, con el Programa Mundial de Alimentos, con la Red de Jóvenes Indígenas y ver de qué manera podemos ir avanzando y concretando acciones que también se vean en territorio, ¿verdad? Hace unos días, el 12 y 13 de noviembre, llevamos a cabo la Cumbre Mundial de Mujeres y Jóvenes Indígenas, donde llegaron alrededor de 250 mujeres y jóvenes indígenas de las 7 regiones socioculturales y tenemos una declaración política. Y en esa declaración política hay también algunos ejes que tienen que ver con los sistemas alimentarios propios de los pueblos indígenas y con mucho gusto lo vamos a compartir. Gracias.
Muito obrigada, senhora Dali. 1 minute summary. Rafael, I need your assistant, please.
That was not on the script, but okay. So we heard the importance of opening up these dialogues and the communication channels between the space where with the people that take decisions, no? So the two spaces where we have the dialogue among indigenous populations and also the space where decisions end up being taken. Keep this channel open. The importance of also bringing about capacity and bringing these indigenous leaders to be part of the same bodies of the decision, and the importance to systematize good practices, as the one mentioned by Jose Godinho.
Thank you, Rafael. We have some minutes. We can have 2 questions for any of the panels from the audience. Who would like to ask question? Jessica? You have a question?
For the Brazil UNICEF person, I heard you mention the Yanomami, right? And I would like to know, how do you track the migration as well as of the children when they're scattered all over? How do you track them, and how do you ensure that their nutritional intake is done for them? And how, it's a tough job, and how do you ensure that they're all kept in line with their nutrition as the years go by? Because it's not one year or a month, but it's years that goes by. How do you keep your records on that?
Thanks at all for the question. Well, I am from UNICEF Latin America and the Caribbean, just CGI. I am not from UNICEF Brazil, but we work together. So that's why in Yanomami, especially, we know the population of indigenous community is really huge. I think everybody knows that United Nations system is facing funds constraints currently because there are no funds. However, our impact is going on after all the decisions making. So related to the nutrition, as I mentioned before, we take care especially for the babies in their first 1,000 days of their lives, because that changed everything for the next years. So in that way, there are some products which have more vitamins and minerals, so they can take it. And of course, we also give food to the mamas, to the mother, because they needed to provide the milk to the children, and which is the best resource that they can have it for every single day. In that way, I just would like to highlight that we really need to have funds first, and we need to have a collaboration, because we are trying to do our best, but we have to know the reality that we are facing. And since that we cannot do too much, but this is why I'm trying to engage with other stakeholders. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. I would like to thank you all for your time, for being here, for your contributions, for this important methodology that we are doing together with WFP, and also your visions on how we could move forward with this and how we can improve and how we can collaborate together with each other. So before ending, I would like to request to have a picture with all of you. Frida, Ms. Rafael, let's have a picture. Fine.